In this video, we are using every single car in Rocket Racing, bringing that over to ranked, and stay till the end, because at the end, we're gonna figure out which one is the best one to use. My name's COLEV, and these are all the cars in Rocket Racing. So, like most games, they don't start off with a lot of content. At least nowadays, most games that come out that are live service, they're more like a piece of the content, which honestly, it's a big debating point because it kind of sucks. You know, back in the day, you got a complete game, but you didn't get updates. Now it's like you kind of get relatively decent game. It's not complete by most means. Most games really aren't, but you do get continuous updates for the lifespan of the game, which is pretty cool. So it's like, what's the trade-off? Well, maybe you release about a 95% complete game, and then you do that. I don't know. I'm just saying. All right, anyways. So if we go over to our locker, why does it take me to the shop? Also, while I'm in the shop, use creator code COLEV if you want to support the channel. Appreciate that. Anyway, here in my inventory is every single car in the game. Every single car in the game so far, besides the Lamborghini. So, what is the best car? Now, if we take a moment and actually go back to Rocket League, where Rocket Racing actually originated from, right? The concept of Rocket Racing would be a thing without Rocket League, of course. So if we go back to Rocket League, back in the day when Rocket League first was a thing, every car had its own hitbox, and honestly, I think that was the best part of Rocket League. It gave every individual car a reason to actually use it. You know, certain cars were longer, so they had reasons to play that car. Why? Because they were more like a plank, so they could flick the ball harder. Some cars were really long, but they were also really flat too. So that actually made it very easy for you to flick even better. But what was the downside to a lot of that? Well, your flips weren't as consistent. Maybe you weren't able to turn and drift turn as well as a smaller car like the Octane. The Octane ultimately became the staple of Rocket League because its hitbox was actually so close to the actual shape of the car, and all the dimensions kind of lined up. That's why the Fennec is so popular, because the Fennec is already shaped like a box, so it's very one-to-one with the actual dimensions of the car itself. Now, if we look at Rocket League, most of the cars are in a category, right? There's about 7 different cars, 7 different hitboxes that these cars utilize in order to mechanically play them however you want to based on those 7 hitboxes. Rocket Racing is dealing with something as well, something very similar to what Rocket League was. And the ultimate decision that they're gonna have to make is, are these cars gonna be cosmetic only? Is there gonna be no difference in how they feel based on the hitbox that they represent? Or is there gonna be a little bit more to it than just that? So to quickly answer that question, there is a difference in most of the cars. I'm not gonna say all the cars, but there is a difference in the cars based on their hitbox. So for all the cars in the game, we got the McLaren 765 LT. We have the Admiral, which this is a new car from Rocket League. If you have the Rocket Pass, you'll get this car. Next one is the Mako, which is also a Rocket League Pass that you'll get from Rocket League into Rocket Racing. Next, we got the Scorpion, which is the vehicle from the Battle Pass. We got the Cyclone, which you could get from Rocket League or from the shop. We have the Octane, which is the car that comes with the game. Everybody has the Octane. It's just like that in Rocket League as well. We got the Jaeger, which similar story. If you have it from Rocket League, you'll get it in this game. If not, you had to buy it from the shop. We have the Endo, same thing, Rocket League or buy it in the shop. Dominus GT, same thing as well. You could buy it in the shop. This is a new item to some people, but if you had it in Rocket League, you will get this car. And finally, the Destro. This was a car that was in the shop a while ago. I said I was gonna get it for y'all so that I can actually do this video, and so we got it here. Now, obviously, I'm missing the Lamborghini, but my theory about it is I'm pretty sure it's the exact same hitbox as the McLaren. I also mentioned that in a video that I put out. I don't know if it was my last one or not, but I do think they have the same exact hitbox. I can't be 100%, okay? So take that with a grain of salt. I have no idea because I do not have the Lamborghini. They have not had the Lamborghini in the shop for a really long time. If it does pop back in there, I'll get it and then give y'all an update in some form. So use my creator code COLEV to help me get that. We already know that the wheels, boost, and trails do not correlate at all to the gameplay. This is a crazy wheel, by the way. So we do know that that is a thing that is not going to take account to any of these tests. It's purely and strictly off of the actual hitbox of the car itself. So for the first game, we're gonna rock with the McLaren 765 LT. see how it feels, and hopefully get a dub in ranks. Currently, we're sitting at 199 in the world right now, still top 200, just barely, but hopefully we can move up a little bit in this video. All right, so I was actually debating whether or not to not do ranked and just go into speedrun, but we actually got into a game. We are in Airborne 2, which is pretty solid. So yeah, here we go. This right here is the McLaren. So if y'all know from a lot of my earlier videos, I used to main this car pretty heavy. So I do have a decent amount of experience with it, at least. All right, a little rough start, but maybe we make a comeback here. Pretty solid. Got about 969 there. A little boost there as well. So the biggest thing that I'm noticing since I've been using the Octane as of late is the car definitely does feel long. I feel like the drifts, like getting into drifts, it feels like maybe it's a little bit harder to chain drift. That was unfortunate. But yeah, it feels like it's taking a little bit longer to transition from the chain drifts. Don't know if that's a fact, but it's just what I'm feeling. Just what I'm feeling. But other than that, I think it's really just the car feels long. Like it feels like a long car. I mean it is in comparison, right, to the Octane. So I expect it to in some way. Yeah, we are not gonna do too well in this race. That death definitely got us good. We'll see what we can do at the end here. All right, well, we got 5th place. I mean, we probably maybe would have got top 4 if we wouldn't have died, but anyways, the whole point, right? See how it feels. And I think the biggest thing is that it just, oh, that sucks. I think the biggest thing is that it feels long. So it does feel like it takes a little bit longer to get into drifts. That's kind of the biggest thing. I don't know if that's in my that's in my head, but I think visually it kind of looks like that too. But it really does feel a bit different whenever you're trying to drift compared to something like the Octane. All right, so we're about 12, almost 13 minutes into this queue, and we are still not into a game. So to save time, we are just gonna pivot over to some speedrun games. We can still get a pretty idea of how the car feels from that as well. I just wanted to also, you know, maybe play some ranked games, rank up a little bit, but I feel like this video is gonna take way too long to make. I still gotta edit and all that stuff. So all right, we are going to speedrun, and we'll move from there. All right, so here we go. This is one of the new cars from the past. So far, I want to say, oh, I forgot the route. This route's kind of nuts. Oh, well, that didn't work. All right, for the sake of the video, we're not gonna go through the route for this Anaconda map right here. But I want to say that the car feels, it's in a weird mix of feeling like the Dominus, or not the Dominus, but like a longer car and like the Octane. The drifts feel pretty smooth, but it doesn't feel like super long, if that makes sense. Yeah, so far it feels pretty good. Somehow that was the first place. Feels pretty good. Again, it's like, I don't know if necessarily making one car, like for example, if I'm gonna make a longer car and actually have a longer hitbox in the game, I feel like, okay, and that car oh my god, what am I trying to say here? And if that car also is worse drifting, like getting into chain drifts, I feel like you need to make the car plus in some other category. So for the Octane, I feel like feels great drift wise. I feel like you could get into really good drifts in it, really good drift chains, and it's shorter. Like it's faster to get into those states. But with the longer cars, I feel like it's a little bit harder to get into those states, and takes a bit longer to do that as well. So I feel like maybe you have to make, I don't know if it's necessarily make the longer cars faster, but if there is a difference, which I kind of feel like there is, then there has to be, I don't know, there has to be some stats. I feel like all the cars in the game need stats. Pretty much just like how Mario Kart is, how different wheels can affect your car in some way. Maybe do it like that, to where the wheels or your items affect your car's ability to accelerate faster, or oh my god, what's happening here? Or have a greater overall top speed. I'm not too sure, but this car does feel like it's somewhere in the middle. Alright, so moving over from the Admiral to the Mako. I know you can't tell in this conglomeration of cars here, but here's the Mako right now. So far, feeling pretty similar. Maybe to the Octane. Maybe the Admiral too. They feel pretty similar. Alright. Not gonna be the greatest time there. Let me get a little bit more drifty now here and see how the drifting feels. This is again one of those maps where it's not really a very drifty type map. I mean, overall it feels, I want to say probably pretty similar to the Admiral, maybe, where it's kind of in the middle. The drifts don't take like extremely long to go off, but that sucks. But it feels smooth. I mean, overall it feels smooth. I think it is somewhere in the middle drifting wise. The car doesn't really feel long. Yeah, everything feels pretty good. And we're over here drifting on the walls. What's happening here? Yeah. I want to say very close, if not the same as the Admiral. At first, it kind of felt like the Octane, but it definitely feels a bit faster like that. All right, now for the next car, we got the Scorpion. Anaconda, this is a good map. Just do the drifts on. We're not gonna go for any of the shortcuts again, like the previous time. And I think the Scorpion feels pretty similar to the Octane. I've used this car before, and I think that claim still runs true. They are extremely similar, if not maybe even the same hitbox as the Octane. This is pretty much the closest thing on rocket racing that we have to the Fennec, I think. Yeah, so far it feels pretty similar. The drifts seem pretty smooth. Yeah, I want to say this is the closest to the Octane that at least we've gotten so far, compared to the newer cars. And obviously the McLaren just feels like a long car. I don't know if there's some actual truth to it, but you know, or if it's just a placebo, but that's what it feels like to me. Ooh, that was bad. But yeah, feels very close to the Octane. A very Octane-esque. And there may be a reason why you see a lot of these alongside the Octane, pretty much just like the Fennec whenever that came out. I think it feels very similar. Has that quick sort of drift feel as well, so. But yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at with the Scorpion so far. All right, so we're in a Pleasant Detour. I haven't played this one too much actually, but you won't be able to see what we're using until boom. So all right, we're in the Cyclone. Very similar feel, I can tell you right off rip, compared to the I can't talk right now. The McLaren feels similar, if not the same, to the McLaren so far. It feels like the drifts. It just takes a while to get into the drifts. I don't know how to fully explain it. Neither do I know what I'm freaking doing. Yeah, it just feels long. It feels really long. And again, it's not like it's a don't know what we're doing there. It's not like it's a massive difference between getting into the chain drifts and not. It just like I'm mentioning it because I feel like it's enough to feel noticeable. And like I said, it could be a placebo. It could just be, you know, I'm overthinking it. I don't know. And again, I don't know the straight up facts here. I've been trying to see if I can contact support to see if maybe they can tell me, but no success with that so far. No confirmation from the Psyonix team on any of this yet. They haven't mentioned it, at least from what I can find. If anybody knows for a fact and can point me over to a stat sheet, definitely let me know down in the comments. But yeah, so it just feels longer. It feels longer, and again, it's not a ton. It's relatively marginal, but it's enough to where I feel like I should say something about it, because it definitely does feel different. And a lot of other people that have used some of the longer cars, I think they tend to agree that there is some difference whenever you're getting into the drifts, and especially when you're trying to go into chain drifts, that it does feel, I want to say maybe a little bit slower. It feels a little more sluggish to get into. So yeah, it's kind of where I'm at with the Cyclone. All right, for this one, you can see me popping out of all these cars. You can tell size-wise, we are using the Destro. This is the first time I'm actually using this car, and brother, let me tell you something. This car feels massive. I don't know if it's just me. Again, I don't know, but man, this car feels huge. Like, it feels I don't even want to say what I was gonna say, but it's a big car, and it feels just as long as the Aston Martin and the Lamborghini. I'm gonna pause for a second, but yeah, it's a big car. Like, it feels big. It looks big. Getting into the drifts feel pretty similar to the Aston Martin. And obviously I assume the Lamborghini will have a similar feel. But yeah, it just feels pretty big. I want to say close to, if not very similar to the Aston Martin and the Cyclone. Maybe more closely resembling the Cyclone, at least like size wise. But yeah, it looks like a bigger car, and it doesn't necessarily completely feel like a bigger car, but I think that the size of the car, ooh, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't think I've ever went on top here before, ever. But that could definitely play a role in your visibility, right? Whenever you're racing on some of these races. So I don't know if there's some truth there. Again, I don't think, I think that all the cars move at the same speed. I don't think the devs have said that they don't, or have said it otherwise, but the Destro definitely feels like a larger car whenever you are driving this thing. So something to keep in mind. Drift wise, I would say is pretty much identical to the Aston Martin and or Lamborghini. So overall, interesting car. I probably wouldn't race with it though. I'd want to say I probably wouldn't race with it. It looks cool, but it just like I said, it looks and it just feels big. Like it's taking up so much of your screen, and I don't know if I'm tripping here, but yeah, definitely an interesting one. All right, so we got the Dominus GT, not new to the world, but new to the rocket racing world. So far, it doesn't feel big like the that felt oddly weirdly smooth. Hold on, I might hit a PR here. What's going on? That it doesn't feel as large as the Destro did, but it definitely does feel, it feels long. Like it's a longer car. You can see it visually. It feels very similar to the Aston Martin in that sense as well. Is it PR? It might be a PR. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, that was totally just a PR. Awesome. Anyways, yeah, it's definitely a longer car visually. While you're driving it, you can kind of feel that as well. Doesn't feel like it's taking up all of your screen, like I said, like the Destro kind of does. But pretty decent. I mean, I got that PR there, which is pretty cool. But that, I mean, that's not really definitive proof of anything. But feel, I mean, neither is anything that I'm saying. But feel wise, oh, this is bad. Oh, this is so bad. Feel wise, yeah, definitely feels closer to the Aston Martin. A smaller, more narrow than the Destro. So I think it's somewhere in that realm. I think the Aston Martin probably has this exact same hitbox. That's probably where it got it from. So if the Dominus hitbox is a thing in rocket racing, that's most likely what the Lamborghini and the Aston Martin and such have. So overall, not too bad. Kind of has the same plague as most of the longer wheelbase cars do, but overall not too bad. Doesn't feel awful, so I can definitely see myself maybe trying this car out in the future. All right, and one of the weirdest cars that I felt from Rocket League, the Endo. I think it's a hybrid hitbox. I'm pretty sure hybrids is one of the lower hitboxes in the game. I think Octane might have the #1, and the Dominus is like right there, or they might actually be the same. But the hybrid hitbox it's a weird hitbox, at least in Rocket League. And for some reason it's very common in casual, I guess, because there's a lot of weird cars that use that hitbox for some reason. But so far, I mean, feeling wise, it feels like the Admiral and the was it Maki, the Make, however you want to pronounce that car's name, the newer cars. It feels somewhere in the middle. Like it doesn't, like the drifts don't, at least the chain drifts, they feel, maybe, I don't know, they feel pretty similar to the Octane actually. Now that I'm kind of just messing around with it here. But obviously it's not a long car and it doesn't feel long at all. But there's something about it that makes it feel a little bit different from the Octane. So I can't quite put my finger on it. I would assume this doesn't have the same hitbox as the Octane. Again, if they're going 1-for-1 from like port from the Rocket League cars, this I'm pretty sure is the hybrid hitbox. So, and that would kind of explain, you know, the car does feel like a little bit different. There's like, and I can't exactly put my finger on it, but I think that the Scorpion felt very similar, if not the same, to the Octane. There's definitely something that is slightly off, not in a bad way, but off from the perspective of an Octane. So a weird car all around, but not too bad. Doesn't feel bad. So I think that's the main thing. When a car feels bad, that's when you kind of want to stay away from it. And I feel like a majority of how a lot of these cars are going to be is when they're really long or really big, that's when they're going to feel bad. Pause. Yeah, so I think it's the same story here with the Endo. So not too bad overall. So let's get to the next one. All right, so rocking over here, tilted turns. We got the Jaeger, very popular car in Rocket League back in the day. It was the closest car that looked like you know, a lot of what the Nissan Skylines and everything are kind of taking up nowadays. But Jaeger was kind of that car. Feels very similar to I want to say that the newer cars, the Maki and the Admiral. I think they have about, if not the same hitbox. I think the Jaeger was also one of the cars that had a hybrid hitbox as well. So it does have some similarities to the Endo, and I think I kind of feel that as well. Again, the drifts don't feel, okay, well that was just me. The drifts don't feel like they're taking too long to get into, but they also don't feel like as snappy as the Octane, as smooth as the Octane, and the Scorpion as well for that matter. So don't know if that's a placebo, don't know if it's, you know, that's actually a fact, or again, like I said, I'm just something that I'm randomly feeling, but that's just kind of how it feels so far. Doesn't feel bad at all. Feels like a solid car. So it's got that going for it at least. Yeah, so overall, not too bad. All right, and finally, I mean, the car everybody's used to, the car that everybody has played with, the Octane. And there's just something about the perspective, even I think from a camera point of view, that I feel like just makes the Octane just superior in so many ways, even above the Scorpion. I think that the Scorpion and the Octane feel the same, if not like literally the exact same, but there's something about the way that the car drifts, the way you can chain drift from it, and then, like I said, the perspective of where the camera is, which I don't think I talked enough about in this video, but I think that's also kind of a truth as well, is where your car is in perspective of the camera, and I think that also plays a lot into how your drifts feel, and whether or not you're gonna get a clean drift or not. I don't know what that was. What am I doing? I couldn't tell you. But yeah, so I think the Octane just overall, man, it just feels like the car to use. And I don't know if the intention was that. It probably wasn't. Obviously, if they plan on having, you know, microtransactions and other cars to buy in the shop. But I think just for some reason, this car just feels good. It feels smooth. And I'm not doing it justice at all, but I'm just kind of doing different things just to get a better idea and just to be able to put my thoughts together a little bit better in this map. So obviously I'm not doing really good routes, but yeah, man, it's just something about it. And I think it, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, I think the camera placement of where it is in perspective of the car is a big deal, and I think it does play a bit of a factor, you know, into how the car feels as a whole, aside from just the hitbox. So yeah, I think you know, out of all these cars, I think the Octane is still going to be my #1. And the Scorpion's right there. The Scorpion feels good. And again, like the Jaeger feels good, the Endo feels good, like these other cars feel good. But if I'm going just purely off of how the car feels in the game, I feel like the Octane is small enough to where it's not occupying, you know, a lot of the screen. I feel like it's small enough to where it feels like I can get into drifts a little bit easier in the car. There's just something about it, man. And I think it's still ultimately going to be the best car to use. If I do get word and something comes out from the devs, from the Sonic devs that are working on this game, about hitboxes and car speeds and anything, camera placements, anything like that, if that does actually affect the way that you race the car, I would definitely let y'all know, either in a community post or maybe in my stream or something like that. But as of now, I think the Octane is just the best car, and that's carried over since Rocket League, man. It's just one of those things. That's the Octane for you. Decades in the work, basically. Now, just like Rocket League, every car is not going to be for everybody. A lot of people like the Dominus over the Octane. A lot of people like the Fennec over the Octane. The Octane isn't the end-all be-all, but I think the reason why the Octane is used so much, not only because it's, you know, one of the first cars you unlock in the game, in both games for that matter, but I think it feels the most balanced. I think it's all the bars are right there in the middle. It can't do anything really great, but it does everything good, and I think that translates very well into this game, aside from Rocket League. Like I said, there's people that are gonna like the longer, the wider cars. The Destro, I think, is a really massive car. I don't know if I'm just tripping, but that car feels massive. So I don't think I'm gonna really use that game too much, unless I'm just messing around, memeing or whatever. Then I might pick it up and use it. But some people might like just the bigger cars in general. So it's really just up to you. If you have the cars available, if you have from Rocket League and those transferred over, I mean, try them out yourself. I'm trying to be the least biased that I can in this video to actually see if y'all do want to get some of these cars from the store or not, if you want to actually purchase them. Like I said, the Destro feels massive. It feels really good, feels really big, not good. You can see from the video just how big the car looks on screen. I think the Cyclone is also like right there too. Like it's a pretty large car. I did use it for a while, but it's a relatively large car. And then you have some of the more narrow cars. So it's like the Aston Martin feels very similar to the Dominus. They look different, but they're both kind of narrow and they're relatively long. The Admiral, we switch back over to this view, like the Admiral and the Mako, these feel damn near the same, right? I mean, you have this massive hood scoop, or not hood scoop, you have this massive spoiler on this one, which doesn't really necessarily obstruct the view that much, but it definitely is visible there. These feel very similar to the Endo as well. Same with the Jaeger. All four of these kind of feel like they're in the same world, the same hitbox. And then you have, of course, the Scorpion and you have the Octane, which I think these are damn near the same, if not the same hitbox. I think these feel the best ultimately. And if I were to pick my top 3 that I'll probably use regularly in ranked, it's 100% going to be the Octane. There's zero doubt about that. The Scorpion for sure is up there. It's probably like my number 2, number 3-ish. And the Jaeger did feel really good. for the longest time I was maining the Aston Martin, but once I went back to the Octane and kind of just realized how it felt, like the drift just felt a little bit better. They felt a little bit more consistent. The thing that happened in the first game that ranked game when we played with the Aston Martin, where I had that crazy drift and it messed up, that hasn't happened to me when I use the Octane. But I remember very specifically whenever I was using the McLaren, that would happen to me relatively often. So but yeah, man, that's gonna be it, dude. If y'all enjoyed the video, let me know. Leave a like down below, subscribe if it was something that you did enjoy. Share your thoughts, man. If you feel like I'm absolutely crazy and all of this is placebo, let me know, and let me know why too, though. Share your thoughts if you feel something similar. Maybe you think another car is different. If you have the Lamborghini, does the Lamborghini feel different from the Aston Martin, or does it feel significantly different from the rest of the cars? I don't know. Again, like, I don't have that one. But let me know in the comments. Share your thoughts down below. Again, I read every single comment. I respond to every single comment. I might not respond to your respawns because the way that the YouTube app notifies me, it doesn't really notify the respawns a lot, and it's kind of hard to go back and backtrack and find them. So it's a little bit difficult when there's a lot coming in at once. So I will respond to your comments, and I do read every single comment. The responded ones are just where it gets a little bit blurred. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the video, again, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Later.